Welcome to the Hardcore MBA Podcast with your host, Erlend, Bakke. Would you like to have a free copy of the #1 international best-selling book, Never Work Again? All you have to do is rate, review, and subscribe to Hardcore MBA Podcast on iTunes and email us a screenshot of your review to erlend@mroutsource.com.
Hi, Erlend Bakke here, signing in from cloudy, beautiful London. I'm actually in the middle of Box City, which means I'm moving to New York and there are boxes absolutely everywhere. Today on the call I have Stephen Essa. Now, Stephen has helped me generate more than $20,000 in less than 2 months. So the way we did that was that we worked together on my presentation and made a webinar that converted really, really well. And what I have to say about Stephen is he lives and breathes what he does. He's a fantastic person to work with. And I feel privileged to have been able to work with him. He's just completed a global tour of his webinar system, which is actually the best way to work in the information marketing world at the moment. But the reason why I have Stephen on the call is because he knows everything about this. Hi, Stephen. How are you doing?
I'm great, Erlend. Thanks for having me on, mate. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the way, like webinars, tell us more about webinars.
Yeah, well, basically, I first got started with webinars in 2008 when I was trying to get some speaking gigs. I was working in property, doing a little bit of speaking for a real estate company that I was working for full-time as an employee. And I went to a seminar and learned about the internet, trying to help the company really manage their online marketing. And at that seminar, I kind of learned that you could make a lot of money speaking, and we were already doing it. So I thought I could help my boss's business speaking. I could really help their online presence as well. So I started. I signed up for a course. I think it was $25,000. I was like, everyone said I'm crazy for doing it. It's friends were laughing at me and all of that stuff. But I knew I knew where I wanted to take it. And after kicking it off and helping my boss generate about $106,000 using some of the strategies I learned from that course, I approached them with a joint venture opportunity. But then after a while, I realized, if I'm going to build a company, I might as well build my own. So I left 6 months, quit my job 6 months after I went to that seminar and tried to get some speaking gigs of my own. And I found it very, very difficult to get speaking gigs. The promoters in Australia were didn't really want to give somebody who's never had any experience any chance. So I basically went out on my own and started doing some of my own shows. But a mentor of mine, when I asked him if I could speak at his gigs, said, "Why don't you try a webinar and practice there?" And I said, "What's a webinar?" And he said, "Well, just go to a system called GoToWebinar.com and have a look. It's a free, take a free trial." So I just went there. It was December of 2008, and I signed up for the website and I put a webinar together, and I ran a webinar for 5 or 6 of my friends. I tried to sell them something and none of them bought anything, but I didn't care because I was doing it for fun and practice. And a week later I ran a webinar to a list of around 50 people. About 15 people showed up, and I made 2 sales at $297. So I made $594 in 60 minutes. And I was like, wow, that was quite amazing. Like, if I could do that every day, that would be brilliant. So, I just set about basically doing more and more webinars. It was so simple and so low cost. And for those of you that, been living on another planet and you don't know what a webinar is, it's just the acronym for a web-based seminar. So it's just a seminar that you can do online, do a presentation, whether it's 60 minutes, 90 minutes, and basically present your PowerPoint slides or your face or a combination of both, and then offer something at the end of the webinar. Now, you don't have to sell on a webinar always. You can just give content, and that's really what a webinar is in a nutshell. And I was able to basically make $4,000 a month later. I made $4,000. A month later, I made $10,000. Then I made $25,000. 25,000. We did a campaign. We did 90,000. And then just the other day, 2 weeks ago, I have currently 5 companies. I've just started my 6th company. And all those 5 companies just do webinars. And 2 weeks ago, we had 2 companies running a webinar at the same time. And one of them was a video marketing company. We made about $6,000 in sales in 90 minutes. And the other webinar, which I wasn't on, my business partner did $120,000 in sales. Wow. On that webinar in 90 minutes. So it's something we use every day in our business. I'm running a webinar after this interview. I ran a webinar last night, and it's just such an easy business model that I really just studied it for the past 5 years, and I learned and created a system, and we've coached, over 10,000 people how to do webinars. And I think hour for hour, I don't think anybody has coached as many people on webinars as I have. And Erlend, you could probably testify to that. In the early stages, your webinar went for 3 hours. Wow. And we had to cut it back.
Yeah. It was a process, but you totally nail it. And the webinar that we developed, I can now use again and again and again. Of course, sometimes I tweak it maybe a little bit because I see what performs better and worse. But in its essence, it is the work that we did, that you did with me, and it's I use it on stage as well, and it was fantastic working with you. So I really recommend Stephen Essa to be your coach if this is a freedom business model that you are interested in. I also want to say that Stephen does this. If you see him speak, he actually shows you how to make money on a webinar live on stage. And over the past couple of weeks, he's generated between $8,000 and $14,000 for people on stage with people that have never ever done it before. So that's the kind of momentum you can get when you work with Stephen. So I've done it. I've seen other people do it, and it's just really cool how he turns your skill set into an asset that you can make money on from anywhere, all over the world. Now, I'm going on a bit there, but it is absolutely true, and it is an amazing way to do business. So, what one thing did you learn the most from in the webinar business?
I think like the number one thing that people need to do is they need to get their information together and put it on a webinar. Now, it doesn't work for all industries and products. I mean, if you're selling like Christmas trees, it's going to be a bit hard to put it on a webinar. But if you've got knowledge, information, ideas that can help other people, whether it's to do with property, whether it's to do with making money, whether it's even now medical professionals in certain industries that have to do CPD. This is a very popular one now, and I'm seeing a lot of my audiences, particularly on this tour, whenever I mention CPD, they're all realizing, and it's something that we were able to... CPD is continued professional development. Professionals that in certain industries have to maintain a certain number of hours in training every year to maintain their accreditation, their license. Like, one of our clients was in the vet niche. So his name's Anthony Chadwick at thewebinarvet.com. And early on, Anthony basically adopted webinars, built a membership site, and now has over 400 vets that pay a monthly, 47 to 97 pounds a month to access information on vet stuff, and that counts towards their 100 hours of CPD that they need to do every year. And CPD is it's something that a lot of industries have to do. Recently, I've got a client who just joined with us. She's a podiatrist. She's putting podiatrist CPD stuff together. We've got doctors and all sorts of people. So it's a great opportunity for you to go out there and really help the professional fields as well with webinars, because now instead of them going to meetings once a month, after work, they can basically do their CPD points at home on the computer, thanks to webinars. And you can automate your business. Basically, you can just have a membership site, put all your replay webinars in there, your video interview webinars, and basically the professionals can pay you a monthly fee. And I think you're seeing the great time to do this was a year or two ago, but still great opportunities exist in doing that. So anyone with knowledge, information to share, expertise that can help others in any way, shape or form is really the prime candidate for a webinar. And I just learned that, look, if you don't put it out there, you're definitely not going to make any money, and you're definitely not going to help people. So I always look for value. Look to deliver value. Your webinar was brilliant, Erlend, because you delivered value. You were teaching people how to outsource, how to live the freedom lifestyle, and I just knew. The funny thing is that for the viewers listening, it's like Erlend was at one of our events and got on stage as one of the contestants in the competition, and there was I think 13 people on stage, and the audience voted. And I just remember when Erlend when you said I teach outsourcing, I just remember saying to myself, please pick him, because it's just a phenomenal topic, a phenomenal thing to teach people, because we're not taught that. We're not taught how to delegate, how to outsource, and all of that. So I really wanted to run that webinar. So I'm so glad that later on after the event that we got together and started working on your project, because it's just an awesome webinar. So a lot of times people will sit in the audience, and when we invite them on stage, because at our seminars we invite people to come on stage and tell the audience what's your expertise, and let the audience choose the person who they want to see a webinar from. And a lot of times people who weren't going to stand up end up standing up and saying something, and they get picked, and they say, I just came to the event. 3 people so far have just said, I just came along because so-and-so, my friend, invited me, and then they pushed me to get on stage, and here I am. I've just made $10,000 or $12,000 or $23,000, whatever it was that we've generated. So it's really just get out there, start running some webinars. It's really just getting on there and talking to people who are like-minded, who are interested in what you got to say, and then offering them something at the end, a way to go further with you. It doesn't have to be a big sales pitch. It can be a very, very simple sell. Like what I always tell people, there's 3 kinds of ways to sell on a webinar. One is a soft sell, a medium sell, or a hard sell. Okay, and a soft sell can be a great way to generate still a 10% conversion rate, because webinars produce 10% conversion rates when you do them the right way. It's easy to just make an offer. A soft sell even can generate a 10% conversion. So you don't have to be pushy. People like to buy. They don't like to be sold to. So just make it nice and easy. Do what's comfortable and try it out for yourselves.
Yeah, I do. I usually do soft sells to my own lists. I don't do the hard sells to them. But of course, it depends on the offer and how much you believe in it as well. Probably, I'm not sure. What do you think about that?
Oh, look, I think it comes down to who you're talking to, and if I'm doing a webinar where I'm talking about my presentation, my full presentation, it would be a disservice to people if I didn't offer the webinar magic package, because I know it's going to help them. I could talk about webinars for an hour and a half. I could talk about it for 2 hours, but at the end of the day, some of the people who are ready, normally it's 10% of people are ready to take on board and run with it. And those 10% of people, if I don't offer them my program, I look at it like, well, they're going to struggle for the next few years to do this, and they're not going to make as much money as if they took my templates and did it. So if you believe in your product, you won't have a problem selling it. And I was the first person. I hated selling. I really, really hated selling, and I realized that I hated selling when I didn't believe in the product. When I believe in the product and I see it get the results, like just last week we did a webinar with a guy who's a chartered accountant, a very boring topic. We made it fun, and he made $9,443 just last weekend on stage in 60 minutes. So So, when you see people getting results, and I get the emails through from people going, wow, I've tried everything online and nothing worked. I did a webinar and talked for half an hour and made money. And it's like, and they follow the templates and all of that. It just gives you it gives me the juice to keep pushing it. And really that's what sells the next series as well, because people see all the testimonials. They go, wow, well, if that guy did that and they talked about that topic, I'm an expert at that. I could do that. And it gives them the confidence. So I think, every opportunity you get to present on a webinar, you should definitely take the opportunity to speak about your package and what you're offering to them. Always be selling something, even if it's a soft sell, even if it's as little as, look, if you'd like some more information on this webinar magic package or whatever package, feel free to email us at blah 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 blah, or go to this website, watch the entire webinar, and see if it's something for you. Some sort of call to action should always be done on a webinar.
Isn't it crazy how many people go and give a talk and they don't offer anything? I gave a talk at University of Oslo about a month ago, and I brought with me 20 books. And I just, it was like 60 people there, and I gave a talk, and I said, okay, if you want to buy my book, I'll sign it for you. It's £20, and I sold out of my 20 books. And that's, that's okay money for a 45-minute gig, and you also get some loyal fans, and maybe they join your mailing list. So it's crazy how many people
absolutely
speak and don't offer anything. It
is. And I think you illustrated a really, really good point there. I mean, if you look at the conversion rates of a book on a webinar, I mean, a conversion rate is a good conversion rate on a webinar, or an average conversion rate is 10%. If you're selling a $30 book on a webinar, your conversion rates can be as much as 50%. I've had conversion rates 60-70% on webinars when we're selling a $30 product. So it becomes a no-brainer. And if someone buys your book, then they're a good candidate to buy your $300 course. And this is what we teach people to do. The first step is take the information, sell a book, sell a $30 product, and then we turn that into a $300 course. Like, for people who don't have a book, I just create a $300 course. And it's something we did even with yourself, Erlend. We just basically didn't have the book ready. We just basically fired up a webinar. Then at the end of that webinar, that free webinar, we offered another 8 webinars where they pay to attend that. And, people have been attending courses and seminars like that, for years, except now we're doing them online. And the beauty is you don't have to create the product until someone buys it. And that's what we really, really encourage people to do. Get out there, make some money, and then deliver the product once you've sold it.
And this is how I launched Mr. Outsource. So basically, MrOutsource.com, we'd been selling, doing recruitment for entrepreneurs, like a little bit here, a little bit there, but it wasn't really getting any traction. And it wasn't until we did the webinar that, we started really generating good money in that business, because recruitment wasn't my main business. It was image editing. And now, increasingly, the recruitment business is taking more and more off, and that is because of the webinars that we've been doing to market the service, and people are more than willing to pay, which is incredible. So it's a beautiful way to do marketing. So tell us more about why webinars are such a great tool for marketing, and why it's the thing of the future.
I think, like, if you look at the webinar model, I mean, just look at the seminar model. I mean, that's been working for years and still does. But if you look at it, it's like, you can basically don't have to pay for a venue. If you compare the two, you don't have to pay for a seminar room. Okay, people can watch from home. They can log in when they want to. I think now more than ever, people want to watch very niche topics. Okay, they want to watch things they're interested in, and we have really TV on demand with the internet, and internet speeds are just about to get faster as well. So. And we've got digital TV now, which basically you can with an Apple TV or with one of these plug-in boxes, you can basically watch TV from your iPhone on your big screen TV. And now that's how one of my head trainers watches webinars. He sits in front of his TV and he basically has the students presenting to them, and he trains them on a webinar. He's watching his 63-inch digital flat screen TV, and he's watching the webinar there. So more and more it's easy easier for people to access information. More and more people are more interested in watching niche topics, what they're interested in. And, with that, you're able to interact. You're able to really reach people at their level and take questions and offer solutions and interact and, really have some of that, rapport built that's necessary when you're generating sales. It happens on a webinar as opposed to just a standard website. So a standard website, if it's decent, it will convert 1% of every visitor. 1% of visitors into sales, whereas a webinar will convert 10% because they're visual, there's audio, there's visual, there's interaction, there's typing, there's asking questions, there's so much more powerful in that degree. So I think that's why they're so much better than just having a standard website. So if you've got a website, put a email capture box on there and invite people to a webinar, and you'll get their name and email. You can get them to a webinar, and you've got a 1 in 10 chance of making a sale to that person straight away.
So I've actually gone from wanting to do lots of seminars to focusing on webinars. Because it gives me more mobility, and it's also cheaper, less risk, etc. Just thought I'd throw that out there. I do love doing seminars, but webinars is something that I'm looking to do a lot more of the coming year, just because of the conversion rate and the low cost.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got Google Hangouts now, which you can use for free, and it's just such a simple way to communicate. Look, in the old days, people, you go to a shop or you go to a seminar or something like that, and people just try and sell you something. Now with webinars, you can educate your audience, and when you educate people, I find that 10% of people want to buy. So I always encourage people to do not hold back on content. Give away generously information, and the sales will look after themselves, because people like to buy, they don't like to be sold.
Okay. Yeah, people like to buy, not to be sold. That's interesting. So how do you leverage automation and outsourcing in your business at the moment?
Yeah, great question, mate. I think that, and one of the things I loved about your presentation, Erlend, is the daily reporting. Which, while I was watching and critiquing your webinar, I put that into action, and you'll be happy to know that I get a daily report from many of my staff. Some can report monthly, and some can report quarterly, but I'm still getting those beautiful reports thanks to your webinar. So I want to thank you for that tip. That was a good one. I'm basically now moving myself as an expert, which I've been very fortunate. I was the beneficiary of being in the right place at the right time, wanting to be a speaker, and getting rejected. I ended up doing webinars early on and became really good at it, and then I got put in this niche really by my mentor, my first mentor, who said, "Why don't you focus on that and make that yourself the expert at webinars?" And my answer to him was, I don't think that anyone would need help doing webinars because they're so damn easy to do. Why would people need coaching? And here we are, like $6 million later, and we've built a huge empire from coaching people how to do webinars, and we have a $75,000 one-on-one training program now as well, which is full. So it's definitely been a very, very big blessing for me. And one of the things I didn't like about the business model was that I was the expert, and whether you're an expert at webinars, or whether you're an expert at Twitter, or whether you're an expert at outsourcing, the problem is that the business revolves around you or your expertise. And if you look at a professional like a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant or a plumber or a mechanic for that matter, the business revolves around them, and people normally like them, and people buy from people they know, like, and trust. So people are normally buying from you when you're an expert. So there's a lot of speakers and trainers out there, and internet gurus that are teaching people what's called the expert model, and they're teaching them how to become an expert in their market. And while I love the model, and it's been very, very lucrative for myself, and I teach it to students and stuff like that, it's a great way to get out of the rat race and start your own company and run your own thing. One of the fatal flaws with that model is that it revolves around you, and when you sell something, customers want to work with you, and they get very disappointed when they get normally a support person, and ultimately a lot of them will live with it, and they realize that they can't work with you at a certain price, but they still get disappointed. And they would love to work with you as an expert. And unfortunately, you can't scale that business model up. So for the first few years, I was really like sitting on my chair at the end of a 14 or 16-hour day, coaching clients, doing the billing, doing all the work myself as an expert. And I was sitting there going, this is not the internet dream that I was sold. This is an internet nightmare. You know, it's like, this is very difficult. Like, I've replaced my job and I'm working from home, and I can take the afternoon off and I can take a week off if I want to and go where I want, and I can be where I want, and I'm not complaining, but this is not really a great business model at all. I'm making great money more than ever before, but it's not a great business model. So what I started doing after 2 years of internet marketing, I started basically helping other experts that were struggling to launch their businesses. And because I'd created a platform, once you create yourself as an expert in a particular market, and it can be a niche market, like webinars, for example.
This podcast is brought to you by MrOutsource.com. Outsourcing to the Philippines done for you.
I can then go and get other experts who do outsourcing, who do social media management, who build websites, who do autoresponders, who know about copywriting, who know about, all these other fantastic things that are in that marketplace as well. I can help them launch their business as well, and I can take 50% ownership in the company, and I can handle the webinars, the automation of the webinars, the sending of the emails, and they can handle selling to the customers, and they can handle support for the customer. And what I've managed to do was, because I had the team in place, I had an admin person, and I have a support person, and I have a website guy. Now what happens is, instead of just doing it for my company, I now have 5 companies and just started the 6th one, where my admin person manages billing and refunds for an admin and receipts and invoicing and all that for my 6 companies. And then the website guy, he managed the websites for all 6 companies. The social media manager manages the social media of all 6 companies. So effectively, I call it the medical center model, because just like a medical center, we have a bunch of experts who rent rooms from us. In a medical center, the doctors rent rooms from the medical center. In our model, the experts, they rent our resources and our platform. It just happens to be online. And then I start a new company with each one, and that's been very, very profitable because we're able to really keep the costs down, but we're able to really jack the sales right up, because an expert on their own, they're normally working 16 hours a day. 12 to 16 hours a day, and then on top of someone being an expert, along comes some internet marketing guys and say, hey, if you want to be an expert, then you need to have Twitter, you need to have Facebook, you need to do webinars, you need to have a website, you need to do Pinterest and Instagram and Facebook, and you need to have LinkedIn, and you need to do this, and plus you need to network. So on top of already a busy business person in a practice or in a business, already on top of that, now we're throwing internet marketing on the mix as well, and saying be global, and here's how you brand yourself and whatever, and it just doesn't work. There isn't enough time in the day for an expert to do that, and if there is, then the expert can only make 150 grand if they're decent. That's a decent sort of thing. Whereas I can take an expert like that, and just by implementing webinars for them, just by creating a couple of $10,000, $20,000 programs for them at the higher level, and just by implementing automation and doing, getting some JV partners on board as well, I can jack that income of that business from 100,000 to 500,000 in 12 months. And after we split 50-50, even if we take out 100,000 in costs, after we split, we're still $200,000 each, which is far and above the 100 or 150 they made, and they've saved themselves a lot of time and headache, because they're not dealing with the technical stuff, which they're not passionate about anyway. They're passionate about working with customers, and they're the kinds of experts I look for. An expert who can love working with customers, because I certainly don't want to work with more customers.
It's so interesting. You started off by talking about how you didn't think you could make money educating people about webinars. Now, I just want to mention my first ever webinar. This was not with Stephen. I did it by myself because of our USpin app. We've got more than 20,000 people on a list. So I invited them for a webinar on the secrets of 360 photography, and had hundreds of signups. And I had this. It wasn't a good presentation at all. I didn't have a compelling offer and all these things that Stephen can help you with. But I did the webinar, and I didn't understand because people kept on dropping off the webinar. And at the end, a couple of people politely emailed me, and because we went from like a couple of hundred to like 5 people, and I was like, "What's going on here? I'm not that bad." And it's because I wasn't sharing my screen. So they were only getting my voice, and I was talking about stuff on the screen, and it's kind of like the knowledge that you have is not knowledge that other people have, and you going on a webinar and actually explaining step by step how to do something that for you is simple is actually for other people really complicated. So that was my first webinar experience. So there is absolutely a big market for teaching people simple skills. I consider myself, fairly intelligent, but I do make stupid mistakes like that, and without proper guidance, you may do that too.
Absolutely, mate. I think that I think every one of us who's run a webinar has done the black screen of death and gone all the way through. And that's why I always tell people, when you start your webinar, just fire it up and say, "G'day, can you see my screen? Just tell me if you can see my screen, okay?" And check in with them after 5 minutes and just check the questions. Can everyone see and hear okay? And get the yeses coming in, and you can move forward. We've all suffered that fatal mistake.
Yes. Absolutely. So where do you see your business in 3 to 5 years?
I see my business. I see 20 businesses. I think that in the medical center model, I can see that we will have basically a streamlined office, and a remote office at that. Like I've got I can see probably around about 10 to 15 people in the operation, 20 experts, and basically just really probably spending what I do right now with the other businesses, and that's I just spend about 2 hours to 4 hours a month with each expert, just checking in with them. I just check in with each business partner and see how they're doing and find out how the business is going, what results they've got, and just really more of that, really helping experts to become better business people, better business partners, and doing that. And on top of that, my wife and I, we buy property. We love property, and so we just use the cash flow from the businesses to generate more property. So that's really just more of that. Really, just have a bunch of properties and have a bunch of businesses, and just keep on going, automating more, and we just continue to learn something new all the time. So I have a lot of fun building businesses and helping businesses when I'm working on the business. I don't enjoy working in businesses, and I'm in a position now, thanks to the medical center model that we've created, is I'm able to stop. I don't have to be the webinar expert anymore, but I am using that tool because we're cashing in on that industry now, because webinars are just blowing up big. It's huge. So I'd be stupid to just walk out of a niche that I've spent 5 years making myself an expert in without making a few more million and without basically finding more experts that we can partner with. So I just sort of hang in the game now just to stay in the know, because if you leave the industry, you basically will get if you went on a holiday for a month and then came back, I think like so much can change on the internet. So I think like right now I'm just looking for more and more experts, looking for the next big thing, and have those businesses automated and making a ton of money and delivering great value to those customers.
Fantastic. So can you give us a simple step-by-step process to getting started with webinar? Just like in a couple, 1 to 2 minutes, just like what are the simple steps?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like the first thing you need is put a PowerPoint presentation together. If you don't have one, just make one. I think just to break that down even another step for you, a good presentation should have a good marketing hook, so something that hooks people in. Like tonight's webinar that I'm about to run in a few moments is called How to Make $10,000 a Month Thanks to Blogs. So come up with a good title, a catchy title. Erlend's was How to Make $20,000 a Month Thanks to Outsourcing. It doesn't have to be money driven, but it's got to be speaking to the target audience. And then come up with a presentation, 3, 5 or 7 steps, and run people through some good content, and then make an offer at the end. And that's in a nutshell, what you need to do on the webinar side. There's obviously intricacies inside there, which I couldn't go into in 2 minutes, but put that webinar together, and then set up a GoToWebinar account for $99 a month. You can set up a GoToWebinar account, and you get a free trial. If you don't want to do that, go to Google Hangouts and set up a Google Hangout. Invite a bunch of people to your webinar and tell them when it's going to be, and then come along, present that PowerPoint slides, make an offer, and then once people buy, deliver the course. And then really you're in business at that point. From there, what I do normally, we create a $300 product initially, or a $1,000 product, or even a $2,000 or a $3,000 product is the initial product we sell. From there, what I do is I look to turn that into a $2,000, $3,000 or a $10,000 or a $20,000 program or product or service. And that's something basically we do by speaking to the customers and finding out what they want, speaking to the expert in the business and finding out where the customers are struggling and where they're at. And they'll tell you. Customers will tell you what they want. They'll tell you what the next course should be, and then you just make it and give it to them. Why try and create something from scratch that you're guessing is going to work when you could just sell it first and then create it later. Fantastic. So that's what the process that I follow with every business, and it becomes very predictable after a while.
It definitely works. I've done it time and time again. So what do you love about business?
I love doing deals. I love making money. I love generating sales. I love delivering good products and services as well. Like I love when someone takes a product and they run with it and it works, particularly my product. Yeah, so I love doing deals, and I love selling, the process of selling when I'm selling stuff that I love, and I love helping people. Really, it's my number one thing is to help people. My wife always says you got to stop saying yes, because I love if someone wants to do a joint venture webinar, I say yes. So now I've given her control of my calendar, and if someone wants to book in a webinar, they need to do it through her. So basically, I just can't say no to people. I love doing deals and helping people, and there's so many opportunities is what I see. And I think particularly in our space, in the internet marketing and in the online business, because it's so new, it's so fresh, there's something new happening all the time, and it's just a fun place to be. I mean, I used to play in a band for 13 years. We were quite successful in Australia in the music business, and people say, don't you miss it? And I'm like, no. I said, that was an old chapter of my life, 13 years doing one thing and performing was fun, but I'm not. I wouldn't want to be doing anything else in the world right now than what I'm doing. It's really like something that I can honestly say, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I love about business.
And that's pretty much how we define what living the freedom lifestyle is as well. Is doing what you love, making money on it, and being at a place where you get up and you're excited and you see opportunities, and you're kind of living in that kind of positive world because you're living out your dreams and your passions, and that's a really good place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And also, there's 3 to 4 billion people coming online the next couple of years. So if you're in internet marketing, it's a pretty good thing to be in, because there's going to be a lot of money to be made. It's not going away, guys.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And, what you do is you just jump in. Don't wait for things to be perfect. Jump in. And if you find that you're not enjoying something, then you just get rid of it. When I first started, I was doing everything in the business, coaching, consulting, selling, speaking, admin, bookkeeping, all of it. And slowly, you just start to get rid of those things that you don't enjoy. And you hire other people as the business grows to do that, So, my business started out really effectively like a mum and dad corner store, and I hired my friends, I hired my family to help me when it got bigger, and now it's at that level where we've got all the right people in the right positions, and constantly changing. There's a new challenge that happens every day. I mean, it's something new that challenges us, that keeps us going, because we would get bored if there was no challenges, or we would create challenges for ourselves if there was no challenges. So that's part and parcel of it as well. There's always something new to test your patience and test your skills and your nerve and your resolve.
Yeah, that's what I love about business also, is the consistent challenges that you are faced with, and also the victories, and sometimes losing a big contract can be motivational, because you go, oh, something in our sales and marketing isn't working, how can we fix that? And that's kind of fun. So any daily routines that you've incorporated in your life since becoming an entrepreneur that helps you stick at it? 9 out of 10 people fail. What kind of routines do you do to kind of keep yourself motivated and on the ball and going?
I just, I make promises to people that we have to keep. What gets me out of bed is that we've got clients and I've got business partners that are relying on me to steer the businesses and to help them create businesses that are multi-million dollar. So I always tell people, if you're not busy, if your schedule's not full with clients, then drop your price down and start filling up your schedule. As soon as it gets full, you'll start putting your prices up, because you'll see the value you're delivering and you just got no other choice to do that. So I stay busy, I stay active. It's like if I've got nothing in the calendar, I use a calendar. So basically I've got my calendar full all the time with stuff to do. Whether even if there's nothing to do, I can be fine tuning a campaign in a business or having a look at the numbers and the bookkeeping, and I get reports from the bookkeeper and everything's itemized, so I can go over those. I keep myself busy every day because that's what I enjoy. I enjoy doing it. But yeah, if you're not enjoying your business, then you've got to basically find out what it is that you would enjoy doing, and then make yourself so flat out in that you've got to do it. You've got that reason to get out of bed. Like I did this morning. I did a coaching call for a student. It was a 75K student. She's in London, and she's launched her first webinar. She's made a few $1,000, and that was 6:00 this morning. I got up to speak to her, and I won't go to bed tonight till probably after the webinar, probably 8:30 or something like that. So but for me, it's like during the day I've had friends come over and hang out, and a business partner came over, and we had a meeting and discussed the numbers. And for me, it's fun. If you don't think it's fun, then you're not going to enjoy it. Find what's fun for you and do that. But I know myself, I can step away from the business now and just manage it all in just a couple of hours at a couple of hours a week at the very most, if I wanted to. So I choose to continue on with the webinars, coaching stuff for another year or two at least.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I try to work with clients on, is find out what you love doing, because busyness is a busyness, being busy with stuff. And if you don't love it, if you don't have some kind of deep connection with some passion, purpose in what you're doing, I really don't think you'll be very successful. And I personally don't think money's enough. I don't think it's enough to get the level of success that you want to have. Like, you want to grow, you want to expand, you want to reach that level to really deliver that value that you can in the world. And when you do that, you make lots and lots of money. So thank you for sharing that. And of course,
you're welcome.
And our goal is to get people to a point where you can choose to work. And I find that the more freedom that I created in my life, the more I like working, the more I work. most of my friends can't go out and play golf during the day. It's just the way it is. So what do? Well, I work or else I would be bored. And I have tried doing, the global travel and not working, but it does get very boring. People don't believe that when I say it, but it is what I have found. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I for Karina and I, we're very lucky. We basically, in Australia, we live in Australia in the Gold Coast. From right now where I'm sitting, I can see the beach. It's beautiful views. And then when it's winter here, we go overseas to visit her family in Europe. Mum's French, so we go to France. We visit her brother in Cyprus, which is beautiful, and we spend some time in Greece as well, where her father lives. And we go to Santorini, and but we take our computers and we continue to work because it's fun. We can check our emails and do some work in the morning, and then we can basically take the rest of the day off. So once you get that business right, the balance, you can work out what balance you want to have. I used to joke around and say my dream day starts at 11 a.m., finish at 2 p.m., and have a 1 hour lunch break. And now it's like, I can do that. And since I've found I can actually do that, it's you actually find yourself actually just doing more, building more businesses, because that's just what we do. It's what we enjoy. So
absolutely,
just get out of the rat race and then find what you enjoy doing, and then start doing that. And just remember, in your business, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, then you're doing it badly, and someone probably has to redo it anyway. So you might as well start doing what you enjoy.
Absolutely. So three kinds of software that you love. GoToWebinar, maybe?
I love GoToWebinar. It's a great software. It's a bit buggy from time to time. But GoToWebinar, I love my Webinator software, which replays the webinars. I manage all my media from there, my webinars, my videos. So my Webinator software, I absolutely love. And there's so many softwares I love. What do I love? I think Skype is great. But I also think that for recording webinars, ScreenFlow is just so good. I love ScreenFlow. I've created so many videos on ScreenFlow. So much. I'm doing things with ScreenFlow that it's not designed to do. I'm sure. PowerPoint. PowerPoint is responsible for making millions of dollars for me and my clients. I estimate we've probably done over $100 million worth of sales, and it's come from PowerPoint. Without PowerPoint, we really couldn't do what we do. So got to love PowerPoint or Keynote, whatever floats your boat on that. I got both, but whichever one you use, definitely that's a great software. So I think I don't have one. I don't have one or three. Okay. I have more than that.
Okay, cool. What about gadgets? Any gadget you use daily that you want to share?
No, I just use an iPhone. I'm not a really gadget. I'm a pen and paper and iPhone. I don't really get too much. The calendar is the number one thing I use. I use Gmail for business. I love Google Drive. I have every company spreadsheet and meeting minutes and everything managed in Google Drive in its own folder. No other gadgets other than an iPhone.
Yeah. Fantastic. And where can we find out more about if somebody wants to do more work with you? Where can they go to get in contact with you? Or your staff?
Absolutely, man. Yeah, absolutely. You could go if you wanted to know about the webinar replay software that we created. We've been developing that for the last 4 years. You can go to webinator.biz, or to check out our website, our blog. Go to StephenEssa.com. That's StephenEssa.com, and we've got a blog there as well, and register for our newsletter, and we'll send you a bunch of stuff.
Okay. Fantastic. It's been a true pleasure as always, and if you have the chance to work with Stephen, please do. I've been very successful with it. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Mate, pleasure to be here, Erlend. Love working with you, mate, and look forward to hearing the success stories from your viewers with their webinars.
This podcast is brought to you by MrOutsource.com. Outsourcing to the Philippines done for you. Mr. Outsource is a recruitment company matching busy entrepreneurs with Filipino virtual assistants, so you can have the time to focus on what's important.